Another drug kingpin handed a hefty sentence.
Pretty standard story, this one. Middle-aged cattle breeder smuggles $10 million worth of meth using an electromagnetically sealed lockbox built into a car seat, which was opened using secret buttons.
Right.
And is subsequently represented in court by a pin-up lawyer who was a prominent figure in Melbourne's gangland killings. Tony Larussa has just been sentenced to 14 years jail, 5 years after he was the subject of the biggest asset seizure operation in West Australian history. That's Tony Larussa, the farmer from Gin Gin, not Tony La Russa, the American baseball legend who manages the White Sox.
Thanks for clarifying.
The organised crime squad moved on Gin Gin Tony after receiving a tip-off from the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission, which at the time I'm pretty sure was run by this guy, with the help of this guy. On April 3, 2017, the cops arrived at one of Larussa's farms, it was on Brand Highway, where they found the meth. The Honda Jazz, which had the James Bond spec alteration, had recently been driven to the property by 26-year-old Perth man Antonio Pele. The ACIC tip-off also led the cops to a house in Alexander Heights, where they found 18 kilograms of ecstasy along with $3 million in cash after searching an air conditioning vent.
I know what a TV dinner feels like.
And they stormed a third home where a 30-year-old man had stuffed $810,000 in 2 backpacks and hidden them in a washing machine.
All very standard stuff then.
Not to mention a glamorous underworld lawyer who was portrayed in the Underbelly TV series and featured in a GQ photo shoot. UWA law graduate Zara Gard-Wilson became a part of Melbourne folklore after she dated murderer Lewis Kane before he was killed in 2004. Kane was one of the many casualties in the Bleak Cities gang war that started in 1998 with the murder of Alphonse Gangitano. At the time, Gangitano was good mates with Perth likely lads John Kizon, Michael Rippingale and the man known as the Leederville Butcher, Craig Christian. Wilson was 29 at the time Kane's body was dumped in a Melbourne laneway. The killing left her traumatised, but it toughened her up, and she needed to be because her mortal enemy in Melbourne was the woman known as Lawyer X. Nicola Gobbo was known by her secret identity for years because a lot of people wanted to kill her. Turns out she was leading a double life, giving legal advice to gangsters like Tony Mockbell, Mick Gatto and Carl Williams by day, and informing on them to police by night. Wilson hung her shingle in Perth a few years ago and was Larussa's solicitor.
Makes John Quigley's legal career look vanilla.
WA's legal maverick is about to do something very much long overdue. He's going to overhaul our campaign financing laws. It had been bubbling in the back of his mind for a while because Quigley didn't like the fact parties, including his own, were taking money from interest groups and taking so long to tell the public they were doing that. The issue of political donations came to a head largely because of this man. The Liberal Party got its knickers in a twist after property developer Nigel Satterley threw a $5,000 a head shindig at his home, and the star of the show was Mark McGowan. Satterley denied it was a political fundraiser, but it started the ball rolling.
What are the laws for donations?
Parties have to disclose donations, but only every year, which makes it difficult for people like us to match the donations with the favour. Quigley has just got cabinet approval to introduce laws that will force parties to disclose the size and source of donations every month, and during election campaigns, every week.
Why doesn't he just ban the donations altogether?
I've always thought that as well, but it seems that it might make the situation worse because you can't ban free speech.
They'll never take our freedom!
If an interest group can't influence policy directly by donating, they'll do it indirectly by campaigning for that party.
And then we turn into America.
In the US, political action committees, or PACs, are organisations that contribute directly to the campaigns of candidates. Very strict guidelines about how much can go to an individual, only about $5,000, I think.
Yeah, well, $5,000's not much, wouldn't touch the sides.
No, so they invented super PACs.
If you don't put Vote Bartlett in the ad, you can pay for it with unmarked bills from a bank heist if you want.
Super PACs can raise an unlimited amount of money. They can't give that money to a candidate, but they can use it to tell Americans to vote for that candidate.
So how much money are we talking?
Last year, American super PACs raised $1,474,788,241. There are more than 2,000 of these things registered in the US. Some are conservative. The Club for Growth super PAC, for example, has the agenda of defeating big government politicians and replacing them with pro-growth, limited government conservatives.
Stand by for a Trump alert. President Trump has endorsed Anna Paulina Luna for Congress.
And some are progressive, like the Patriot Majority. It sounds like something Bison Man would be part of, but in actual fact, it's a Democrat-aligned fund that promotes investment in education and preserving Medicare and Medicaid and the welfare of the elderly.
Quigley stopped short of banning political donations from property developers.
They've done that on the East Coast with varying degrees of success, but that won't be happening here. We crunched the past 5 years of political returns. This is how much people in the property game gave the Liberals, and this is how much they gave Labor.
Nigel sadly likes to have a bet each way.
A lot of them do. Nige donated $25,000 to the Libs in 2018, but sent $19,000 to Labor that year as well. Another $21,848 went to the Reds in 2021.
It's actually not that much money.
Loose change for a cattle baron meth dealer. I'm Ben Harvey. For more update, click the subscribe button below.